Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to this session at the Winter Warmer Festival. I hope you're all feeling winter warm and ready for some song and poetry. We have a fantastic lineup coming up. We have readings by Pippa Little, by Karla Brundage, and by Scott McKendry. But we're going to start with some song from Fiona Kelleher. Fiona is a singer and musical artist. Traditional song and medieval song are areas of special interest, and she has recorded work in both genres, which is featured in film, theatre, and in music recordings. She also specialises in music performance and composing for early years audiences. Improvisation and collaboration are key elements of her practice, and her work references and celebrates the natural world and its beauty. So I'd like to please welcome to the stage Fiona Kelleher.
Super. Thank you so much. Hi everybody, lovely to be here again this evening. We've had a wild and windy Saturday, so it's nice to be all warmed up in here. We opened the festival last night with some Irish songs and English songs, and I'm going to do the same this evening, but we're going to do some different ones today. But I am going to feature my good friend, the Strutty Box, as well this evening, and I'm just going to explain that to you. There's lots of new faces here this evening. This is one of my best friends in the world. It's my personal accompanist. It's an Indian harmonium, really, so it's the very smallest version of that. It's called a Strutty Box, and it's a reed instrument, and it provides a beautiful drone sound, so it gives a lovely harmony, which is really nice when you're doing more lyrical, melismatic melodies. It's very nice for that. So you'll get a chance to hear that in a minute. At the moment, we'll put it down here. And I'm going to start with an English song first, and it's a traditional song called The Bonnie Blue-Eyed Lassie, and it's a song that's very popular in the area where I'm from, which is around Macroom and Ballavourney and the Musgrave Gaeltacht there. And this song is also called How Could I Live at the Top of a Mountain, which is the first line of the song, and that's quite common in traditional song where the first line is the title. So on that note. How could I live at the top of a mountain? No money in my pocket and no gold for the counting, but I would let all the money go, all for to please her fancy, and I'd marry no one, my bonny blue-eyed lassie. She's my bonny blue-eyed lassie, with an air so soft and tender, her walk like swan's blood, and her waist so small and slender, her golden hair in ringlets fell down o'er her lily white shoulders. I'll ask her to marry me, and there's no one could be bolder, for some people say that she's very low in station, and other people say she'll be the cause of my ruination. But let them all say what they will, to her day I die, she'll be my own lovely lady. Bright leaves the swan o'er the dark waters of O'Hill, and brightly sings the nightingale, so happy to behold her. The winds may blow, the moorcocks crow, the moon may shine so deeply, but deeper by far is my love for my own lady. And some people say that she's very low in station, and other people say she'll be the cause of my ruination. But let them all say what they will, to her I will prove constant still, till the day I die. She'll be my own lovely lady. Thanks very much. Welcome, everyone. Now here we are, a glass of water. I wouldn't mind. I've had about 10 glasses of water. I mean, I don't know. So what I might do now is a song staying in that Moose Creek Gaeltacht area where I grew up. There was a great tradition of Irish singing, and it was most unusual actually in Gaeltachts in general to have singing as the main kind of thoroughfare in terms of people's creativity, because there was so much instrumental music going on as well. But this Gaeltacht particularly has a very, very strong tradition in song, and lots of amazing singers from that area who were very influential and who I had the great privilege to listen to and see live many times over when I lived in that area. So one of the songs that's kind of a really good one that people love to hear is a song called Alleluia na Gauna. I don't know if you know Alleluia na Gauna. And it's a song about calling home the calves. Gauna is calves in Irish, and this is all about bringing the calves in and having them out on the grass and eating the heather and flying around the place and coming in for the milk and so on. So all of those lovely things, and all really about nature and about being outside. And there's lots of different versions of it. People sing it sometimes very rhythmically, but I'm going to do it this time with a bit more of a dark edge to it, and I'm going to use my strotty box here for that purpose. So you can see here in the front it's got some nice keys on it, and they're all representative of a note, which is a scale from C to C, a chromatic scale, and you can choose whatever notes you like to make chords. Then that could be a minor or a major chord, could be a perfect fifth or maybe an octave or whatever. So use it in different ways. Now I'm going to start at the very beginning. I'm just going to go with one note. See if we can manage that, and we might take it up a peg from there. Let's see how we're doing. Two are deciding to play. Sometimes it does its own thing. Let's try that again. Sending that make feeling canary.
Another Irish song if you like the Irish stuff. There's a song I have, it's called Cocoon, and Cocoon is another one that is from the Bhuskri Gaeltacht. It's a bit more upbeat, which might be no harm. So it's got a bit of a chorus and it goes Cocoon Nandy, Cocoon oh. That's the word. So you go Cocoon Nandy, Cocoon oh. Cocoon Nandy, Cocoon oh. Cocoon Nandy, Cocoon oh. Okay, so I'm just going to stop you there. You have three of those, and then you have another line at the end, and the melody changes. So do the words, but we're not going to do the other words. We're just going to say Cocoon Andy. So we're going to go Cocoon Andy, Cocoon oh. Cocoon Andy, Cocoon oh. Cocoon Andy, Cocoon oh. Cocoon Andy, Cocoon oh. God, you're very quick. That's pretty good. We have one more round before we start? Let's give it a go. Cocoon Andy, Cocoon oh. Cocoon Andy, Cocoon oh. Cocoon Andy, Cocoon oh. Cocoon Andy, Cocoon oh. So last time, Cocoon Andy, Cocoon oh. Would we go for it? Yeah. So I sing a verse and you guys come in then, okay? Here we go. And this is a macaronic song, meaning in English and in Irish. So that's always quite nice. And in Gaeltacht, it's like the Chuala Ceol Gaeltacht. It was really good as English was kind of coming into the language and being part of the landscape of life there. You had lots of songs with English and Irish. And it's a wonderful way to
have the language for people who are speaking in English and those in Irish as well. It's kind of a coming together of those traditions. So it was a very nice way of, and I love those songs myself because it's always really nice to get that element of play between the languages. So here we go. Okay. Hop sa yana vrar for the war boss, Tony Gurney for the cushy sauce and trap. Hop sa yana vrar for the war boss, Tony Gurney for the cushy sauce and trap. Cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh, cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh, cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh, cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh. Throw 'em up and throw 'em up high, throw 'em up and up, he'll come down by and by. Throw 'em up and throw 'em up high, throw 'em up and then he'll come down by and by. Cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh, cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh, cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh, cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh. She didn't dance, she didn't dance today, didn't dance, and no, yesterday, didn't dance, she didn't dance today, didn't dance, and no, yesterday. Cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh, cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh, cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh, cook and Andy, cook and Andy, oh. Nice to meet you, everyone. Lovely to see you. Don't be part of your report. Thanks a million.
Thank you so much, Fiona. That was beautiful and fun. Another big round of applause, please, for Fiona Kelleher. Up next, we're going to have a reading from Pippa Little. Pippa Little is Scots, born in Tanzania and now settled in the northeast of England, where she has worked in literacy and education. She has been a Royal Literary Fellow at Newcastle University and will teach poetry for the Faber Academy in 2023. Her third collection, Time Begins to Hurt, was published by ARC Publications in July. This is going to be a great reading, so big round of applause, please, for Pippa Little.
Thank you for the introduction, and it's a hard act to follow. I'll do my best. Wonderful, wonderful. I just want to say thank you to Paul and all the people in Ovale and everybody that's come together to make this festival. It's been real joy to come here, and thank you for coming and listening. I'm going to read from Time Begins to Hurt, which is the third book from ARC Publishers, the great ARC Publishers, who I hold in very high esteem. And I thought I'd start with the title poem. So it's called Time Begins to Hurt. I love how, lying in bed behind yellow curtains under an open window, a dog barks somewhere in the neighbourhood, a dog I may know from morning walks or not, and the sound carries then fades as evening turns towards dark. The door shuts, the dog's gone in, all of us safe in this small place surrounded by beaches under our own rooftops. I love how rain falls in the early hours across the streets, steady pulse like a runner in plimsolls, alone out there, someone young and fleet, making for that door before the key turns, the whole light burns out. Keep running, my heart blurts. You are so near now, in your shining skin. Phone wires across the yards begin to warm and thrum in sympathy. I lie with my life, waiting as always for morning on my chair, a shapeless thing, nothing in its pockets. Like so many other people, this is a book that came through lockdown. It's evolved through that time. Through that time, I lost two very good friends and my lovely husband. And I found the end of lockdown really hard because it was good weather in England and the TV showed photographs and films of people crowding on the beaches as if nothing had happened. So I wrote this poem called End of Lockdown. Something has been broken in me. Today I walked where rock pools like eyes fill with tears, alone but for gulls and sea glitter. Forbidden touch, skin remembers how to hold and be held in tenderness is holy. The world is very old and very frail. I wonder, will it survive us? Something has been broken, this slow, quiet letting go of our pawnbroker's innocence. I have dreamed again and again of extinction, yet the world goes on, even as something has lain down in us, like an old animal, come to the end. Multitudes throng the beaches in these last days of lockdown, oiling their glistening legs like flies. Thank you. Another preoccupation in this book, which the clues in the title really, Time Begins to Hurt. It really does once you start to get middle-aged and elderly. And women tend, I think, to get more invisible as they get older. So this is a kind of rant about that. It's called The Female Etc. The woman in the wire dress, the fruit gum shoes, climbs the gallery stairs, emigrant in her life, surrounded by absent children, husbands, and versions of herself. No cloud of glory, just an unceasing buzzing of white noise, emotional tinnitus. The gallery is cold and pale, the uniformed men bored. She walks a centimetre or two above the ground, not enough for anyone to notice. 70% water, 30% rage. She lists and defends two-sided things, back of a cinema, secretive and dirty. How dust accrues behind the sideboard, the hungry mirror, the hanged man. How the opposite is always true. I woke myself up, she says, from the labours of twilight sleep. When the lost return, how shall they look? Thank you. A big concern really for me in my writing and also sort of any campaigning and things that I do is that it's always the most vulnerable who are bearing the worst brunt of violence and oppression, whether children, animals, vulnerable people. And this poem is a poem for a Palestinian woman called Abitha Ayash, whose 8-year-old son was taken off the streets in Jerusalem and interrogated. It's called Coming for Our Children. We worry for them on the way to school, on the way home, how they have to cross the soldier's path through the rubble and rough wires with no hiding places. One afternoon he's late, your 8-year-old son, snatched by an armoured car. The others run away, came to tell you. For hours you hardly breathe, don't count each bite on your knuckle, each pace across the floor. 15 of them surrounding him. Who is throwing stones? Give us their names. In his 2 big spectacles, his wobbling front teeth, small and skinny, they came for him. Now he never sleeps and trembles the way you tremble. So this poem is a kind of riposte against that. It's called Against Hate. Sole passenger on an early morning tram. I'm half asleep when the driver brakes, dashes past me, dives into a copse of trees. Gone for so long I almost get out to walk. Then he's back, his face alight. I saw the wren. explaining how he feeds her when he can, and her restless, secretive waiting. We talk of things we love until the station. I tell him of the Budapest to Moscow train brought to a halt in the middle of nowhere, everyone leaning out, expecting calamity, but not the engine driver, an old man, kneeling to gather armfuls of wild lilies, orchids. He carried them back as you would a newborn, top-heavy, gangly, supporting the frail stems in his big shovel hands. These are small things, but I pass them on, because today is bloody, inexplicable, and this is my act, to write, to feel the light against my back. It's very nice to be clapped after every poem. It keeps you going, you know. This is called Sticking Place. You said you never asked or wanted to be born, as if my mothering was a punishment, and the harder I loved you, the more it hurt. Things were worse once, though I refused to write in the past tense, and still. You went down to the unmanned station, but no trains came. You got hit by a car and lay in the road until I came to fetch you. You broke glass and cried afterwards. Weeks turned to years of few words coming and going, my jokey, seeing you off the premises, a reason only to hold you for a moment. I keep loving you like an old bruise, still tender. You do not consider yourself worthy of any love at all. I should have guarded you better from my ghost's white noise, their whiskey breath. I would blow fire into your mouth, set a fuse snaking towards your heart, if that would save you. Yet the night you ran, I didn't follow, part of me relieved it might be over. When it wasn't, I set my stubborn love at you again. Some nights I can admit we are each other's sticking place, as if that could shelter us. Nothing can shelter us. Now I listen at your door to what approaches slowly from the dark, asking to be written. This is a lighter one you'll probably be pleased to hear. I heard on the radio about a community group in New Zealand, which sort of tickled my fancy really. They called themselves the Coffin Club, and it was a group of pensioners, and they got together to learn carpentry to make their own coffins, to save money and also, you know, have a sense of solidarity. And they had a wonderful motto. The motto of the Coffin Club was, "It's a box until there's somebody in it," which I think is great. So this is the Coffin Club. Happy afternoons under the tin roof of HQ, sanding and sawing the Karla Brundage of our hearts. Dowels, end grain and blue pine delight us. Surfaces release top notes of sweat, charged with our hands. We've been made strong again by these joyful epitaphs in wood. Handles get tapped in, brassoed. Then last of all, we fetch and fold family linens, hand-sewn, heirloom, crochet blankets looped in our old age, so lying down to rest will smell of home. The radio plays Quando, 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 time to fill the Brown Betty teapot, catch up on chat and ailments. Today there's another gap around our table, but soon everything we love will be all around us. Thank you. I've lived close to the North Sea most of my life, in Scotland and then the north of England, and I hate to see what's happening with the pollution and what it's doing to the sea creatures. And a couple of years ago, I wrote this poem after there was a big story on the news about an orca which had had a stillbirth and carried this newborn dead 1,000 miles. You might remember that story. I don't know. It was huge. It was huge in England. Lots of people went out and photographed it, and it was to do with the fact that, you know, the environment was disordered, they were starving, things like that. So I wrote this poem. It's called Something is Very Wrong with Us. This fire in flood summer, it oozes out of the earth, dull throb of knowing. And 17 days and nights, Orca has carried her newborn dead, photographed, filmed, followed for 1,000 miles. I walk back and forth at the edge of this northern sea, can't leave, can't rest. With no language to say this in any other way. Sea calls, repeats, the harm, the damage. Too lost before this one, which she won't let go, constantly retrieving and lifting its sinking body, pushing against the will of the sea, how her body trembles. I dream of the weight, the cold throat closing up in silence again and again. Blood song, blood call, the hurt, the damage. This evening a report, 6 females circle her, close and slow. She has allowed her young to slip away, fall through the soft layers and threads of the sea, the harm, the damage. I've just got 4 short ones to finish with. My youngest son was born really loving horses. He had has a real affinity with them, and he worked at the stables, and he fell in love with this huge grey horse, which had a fancy name. I think it was called Thor or something, but everybody in the stables called him Jimmy. So I thought this was a poem about Jimmy, but actually reading it a few days ago, planning this, I thought maybe it's about my son actually as well. Grey Berber. He thinks he's unobserved in his lonely grace, circling the 5-acre field, fence to fence. He is a running cloud, a fast-flowing river, ripples of mist or smoke. I scent him on the wind. Imagine how the nap rises on his spine. Don't want to bridle or fetter him. Just watch and watch how life loves him whole, muscle and bone. And this poem's called The Summer I Lived as a Wolf. I knew the names of stones at the river mouth, crossing, giving thanks to their uneasy spirits. I heard killings in the shadows, knew to turn keen and quick, travel in the presence of thunder, leave no scent or spoor behind. Preferring the high places closest to the moon, where the wind ran with me, I practiced abandon, my spine a scimitar, star-wetted. I flayed old disguises into strands and rips. Underneath was sleek, open. My muzzle carved air into 4 queendoms, and I knew them all, as they knew me, tooth, soul, tatterdemalion heart. And I flew, I think, in that time, when nobody needed or shamed me, and I was always hungry, bloody-tongued, but louche and free and supple, perfumed in pine and ashes. And I'd just like to finish with, I'd like to finish with 2 poems that I wrote for my husband Bob. We used to collect sea glass together on this beach where there was a lighthouse. This is called Lighthouse and Sea Glass for Bob. A windswept day spent at the tide's seam, diving and wading alone like sanderling or turnstone for sea glass. Home, I arranged my hoard on a high sill west of the lighthouse. Dusk is setting off the beam, slow pulse of there, not there. If you were here, would you tell me how tumuli of spirals turn the lens to a great star told in a rosary by sailors, this long coast? Small tumbled things burn cold against the window. Tell me they will abide. Tell me they will let the young light in come morning. Sea fissured, fractured smooth, their surfaces seem to fill with tears, mourn lost, uncrossable distance. And the last one is called The Strangest Happiness. Though we have no new words for this time of illness, remission, we go by the weight of your hand in mine, my hand upon your shoulder. And this is the strangest happiness, no longer expecting anything more than morning glories in the hedgerow, birdsong, coffee hot and strong. Some days life feels very much the same this way. Everything simple and separate now, a shaft of sun across the floor. We are in love again and very young and kind with one another. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Pippa. That was a great reading, very deep and considered. It was really good. Another big round of applause, please, for Pippa Little. Our next poet is joining us on Zoom, Karla Brundage. Karla Brundage is a Bay Area-based poet, activist, and educator. She's born in Berkeley, California, in the summer of love, to a black mother and white father, and she spent most of her childhood in Hawaii, where she developed a deep love of nature. She is the founder of West Oakland to West Africa Poetry Exchange and is a board member of the Before Columbus Foundation. Her poetry, short stories, and essays have been widely anthologized, and she is the author of 2 books, Swallowing Watermelons and Mulatta Not So Tragic. A big round of applause, please, for Karla Brundage.
Good evening. Thank you. It's morning over here. Thank you so much to Paul and all the beautiful music. Yes, it was such a beautiful poetry. So I'm going to start with a poem that was actually put at the Blarney Sanctuary from the Poets in the Park from the Obile Festival. It's called Why Do Black People Protest? Why do Black people protest? Black people have always fought for this country, alongside whites, occupying spaces of shadow. My grandfather's hat and gun, crossbow spurs, twinkle in his matted eye. Hair like a buffalo, soldiers. In the bedroom, too, is silence. The stop, the choking gall to aspire towards light. Of course, a synthetic illusion of freedom. Please hold my blistered cotton hand, love. Open the door. There's a baked ham on the kitchen table. But to sacrifice my happiness to hatred, what for? Am I obligated to pay price paid so many times over? Arms weary from carrying the signpost, pinched nerves in back of the spine. I am a woman. I spent some time living in both Zimbabwe and Cote d'Ivoire, and W.E.B. Du Bois, a scholar, always talks about this double consciousness that happens in America with people who are of African descent. And I find that as a mixed race person, I have a double consciousness sometimes, which is super complicated. So these are some reflective poems on that. Conquered. For hundreds of years, Christians trekked thousands of miles, bearing Bibles and long-winded sleeves, choking Malian warriors with ties, strapping down Zulu breasts, uncinching waist beads to trade in the Americas for lands, replacing them with girdles and full-length skirts. Hawaiian tongues cut out to pronounce hymns with high lace collars, hair unbraided into tangled heaps called nappy, unlocked and pressed, ironed, clamped, wrapped, hidden. Christians come in long lines with hard-heeled boots, kicking indoors, shoring knee-high woolen socks. Pants replace ceremony to manhood with submission. Shorts assimilate. In more modern warfare, Christians undress their enemy, promoting bare heads, free-flowing hair, breast liberation in bikinis, tattoos, and appropriate native piercings. Even waist beads reemerge without ritual. Underneath. Thank you. Underneath her veil is Victoria's Secret. I see a glimpse in Dubai's Great Mall, where I partake in shopping until 2 a.m. Historic Ghanaian castle in Accra, known for its role in the slave trade, sold to Cocoon, a German corporation. China's international road building monopoly leads to mining of silicon and breast implants? Oops, wrong veil. Lower caste Indians expatriate to Dubai, performing slave-like labor, wage discrepancies reflecting lightness of skin. American and European expats lounge in hammam, take Zumba at the gym. Anyone who has means hires a maid or brings in a girl relative from the countryside. Underneath the dashiki is Calvin Klein. I don't really care. I'm just saying. I'm probably wearing some right now. The first man to visit me after I was born was Eldridge Cleaver and his wife, Kathleen. I remember drawing castles with Angela Davis, laying in her lap while my mom gave a speech. Hair is bought and sold faster than ice cream. It's supposed to be African hair, but it's from India. Hindu women sacrifice their hair for the upkeep of Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal, the Black blues singer, lived in Hawaii and married a white woman. I don't care about that either. I'm just saying, I know they're mixed race kids and it's not so simple, you know? Koreans cornered the market of Indian hair, sold to Ghanaians, Nigerians, and Abijanese. Black women do the braiding. The black market sells all things iPhones, iPads, iTunes, and of course, US dollars at a discount price. Underneath her white robe is a roll of Benjamins. Underneath that smile is a look of scorn. That traditional print headscarf was made in China. Yes, the mudcloth too. Leader in the production of cocoa and coffee, Ivorian farmers can afford neither. Many have never tasted chocolate. Businessmen of every nation sweat in full suits and ties. Underneath is their greed. Soldiers who carry AK-47s slung casually across their chests offer to carry my groceries and open my car door, walk me to the car singing. Underneath is a young man from the country making money for the first time. Underneath may be a killer. We come to class each day, books in hand. What is underneath? The last one in that series is about gentrification, I suppose. It's called Greedy Mouth. Cut my scalp into this cloth. Take my head wrap, dripping blood, wrap it into your own. Wear my skin like you own it. Place these beads from my waist into your ears. Excavate my eggs and eat them on your plate as a garnish. Palate your tongue with sugar from my clitoris. Garnish your wrist with the smallest bone of my left toe. Rest the air from my lungs into plastic bottle between your knuckles. Rest your fake hair on my chest. Here you can play the doll of your hatred house in lockless doors with golden coins in a locked chest. Sever the locks from my scalp and wrap them in a song. You shout to the wind, coin your winnings in the key-locked vault. Wine the coinage of your sad, sad heart. I am nothing but a finger, thumb. You have taken my scalp and my spine, my voice and my mind. I have emptied all for you. You opened your greedy, greedy mouth to swallow. So these next two are about my daughter, and I wrote one while in Africa and one when she went off to college. So Elephant Dreams. This one is actually a dream. Elephant Dreams. You are walking with elephants, electric ringlets splayed across tea-blue sky. You march, arms back and tight in determination, daughter in battle. Knees excessively forced up for an exuberant stomp downward. The elephants shield you in curtains of gray, like wrinkles draped on a stage, pulled apart and released for my gaze. I scan the savannah, your curls, a tusk, your tiny foot, a hoof, shuffling to accommodate your pace. In a moment of moonlit panic, I dial your cell phone. Piercing noise calls a stampede. I lose sight of you, but before you disappear, you signal your flight. And this next one is when she went to college. It's called Empty Nest. Creeping up my chest, an ache, a loneliness, gnawing at my back. Muscles contract, the spine, the shoulder blade, the heart. Where will I be without you, daughter, as you fly away? Fingertips scrape the sky, collecting stars. I imagine your room vacant, cannot swallow, my purpose accomplished, my fears defeated. You now grown and graduated, my empty nest, my emptiness. So selfish is this desire to keep you with me, but so strong. I fight my own urges to forever shield you, womb of my womb, from the natural disasters that await. But your time is now, your time to give birth to yourself, to move away from me, to give me back to myself. So we all went through this pandemic together, and I was lucky to join some writing groups. And these next two poems I wanted to share as I transition to a lighter section, and these are both about lockdown, I suppose. One is called Braless. Braless. In my womanhood, myself, no ancient patriarchal barriers imposed, comfortable, my womanhood exposed, nurturer, my heartbeat, cover one ear. Beat, put your head on my chest, rhythm of me in my body, comfortable, myself, one less barrier between, unchained, unrestricted, not compelled to respond to expectations. Braless, me, a flawed woman, a person without fix or scaffold, harder to navigate. Braless. So clearly that was written in the beginning of the lockdown, before, things got so serious. And this next one I also wrote at that time about trying to survive. It's called Shelter in Place, Oakland 2020. My viral sustenance is you, flash of rainbow, saltine cracker. A hummingbird lands on hot jacaranda branch. I write of hope and spiral downwards. What does my zodiac tell me about when this will end or if I will ever see you again, my sunflower? Under cracking pressure, my heart wobbles. Call it not agony, this absence of you. Let's pretend there is no storm of tears we subdue by beating them inwards. Let's instead preserve our love and press on madly to a blind future together. And I'm going to finish up with a few nature poems, more love focused, with a little humor, I hope. I spent some time in Tennessee recently and was lucky enough to be living for 2 weeks in this one room shed with an outhouse, doing a writing retreat, and it was a really beautiful experience. So this is called Hiking Boots Fantasy. Let me be a sexy hiking boot mama, tree trunk sturdy, stick shift flexible, trucking down to garner supplies. Shorts reveal sweat lines where secret sweets lie. Ample breasts, arms swing, brushing, milling about, hoisting weight, wasting nothing. I want to lay you down in a bale of hay on sheet, wrap you in scent of farm love and feathers. Let me be your sexy boot-wearing mama, a lover who can stand and lie, who can storm and shelter, who can rest your weary head on my chest or boot away your every fear. Come back when it's hot. I love the smell of wild fennel, but I don't eat licorice. Black is for my tea, cream in my coffee. I like it sweet. I like to see and invite. Don't get me wrong, I like surprises. Come inside, it's not so bad. The barbed wire is there for a reason. Once through, the ground is lush. A few little scratches make the wait a bit more exciting. He, so beautiful. Soft skin of a peach on tender places. Eyes locked in a stare with a slight smile. Conversation with no words. Your hands on my feet, pain edging away. The softness of your breath near my neck. Goosebumps that reach for each other. Tiny visible hairs that transfer your aura to mine. On a cellular level, we are joined by an invisible force. I can see you even when I can't. Like the scent of a horse in a stable or snow on top of Kilimanjaro, your scent is recognizable. The Milky Way in August. My final poem is for my father. When I was there in Tennessee, he also passed away during the pandemic. He always had an outhouse. He always lived out in nature. And so I was using an outhouse as opposed to the indoor plumbing. And so I wrote this for him. Outhouse King from my father. You are the king of outhouses, yours with crescent moon, with joyous stepping stones. I can talk to red anthuriums and relax to the scent of white ginger. This forbidding outhouse here on cliff downwards, dirty with a crushed spider on treacherous path. My father, how I miss you, your strong arms, your twinkling blue eyes, the kindness of your regard when looking at me. Your old typewriters, family photos on the dusty wall, ancient editions collected to sell. How I disregarded all your dreams. The arrogance of the young is not kind, but it's necessary. Oh, how I miss those hot baths on the porch in the large metal tub, your hands that lifted large buckets of water to the wood stove, the bamboo forest and shoots, alfalfa sprouts, bursts of rain, the 12-volt bulb salvaged from a pickup truck tail light illuminated our nightly reading time. I love you could still fix your truck and solar panels even with dementia. I cherished painting the floor together using painting pole as a cane, taking your walker with the bicycle basket out into the tall grass to change the propane tanks. Oh, that you had to die that I might live. Is that not the way of nature? Now, as I continue to refuse to die for those who might live after me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karla. That was a wonderful reading and such a privilege to have you join us here remotely in Cork. So another big round of applause, please, for Karla Brundage. So our final reader of this session, I'm very excited to announce, is Scott McKendry. Scott was the recipient of the Patrick Kavanagh Poetry Award in 2019, and his pamphlet Kerfuffle was Poetry Book Society Autumn Choice 2019. He has published widely in journals on both sides of the Atlantic, and Sinead Morrissey and Stephen Connolly included him in The Future Always Makes Me So Thirsty, New Poets from the North of Ireland. That was with Blackstaff 2016. And Scott is currently working on his first full collection, and we're delighted to have him with us here tonight. So, please welcome Scott.
Thanks very much, Ben. This is my second night of dark horses, people who get you drunk without even bringing it up, and just get you drunk. You know, at least in Belfast, you say we're going to get you drunk. You know, whereas in Cork, I think it's like, no, we're going to be sober all night, and then you're drunk. So it's just like, thanks very much, Ben, and I'd like to thank Oviel and Paul for the very kind invitation, and also Dean Brown for throwing my name in the hat, although maybe that's an element of nepotism that you're not meant to bring up, you know, but for the sake of transparency. So, this is a poem dedicated to Dean Brown, who had me out last night and slightly traumatised. Not because of him, I just had to walk home in the rain for 40 minutes. A 15-minute walk that turned into 40 minutes. There's Cork with winding streets, but this poem is about the love of cats, which is it's up there with flowers, isn't it? In terms of like poetry. I mean, cat poems, it's pretty standard. So, Dean sends me more pictures of his cat than he sends me messages. And it's a beautiful cat. Ginger, a fur. I will not hold it against it. But, so, this poem's called Neuterdom. Neuterdom, for Dean Brown, and Cooper the copper corker, even though Dean's from Tip, but we'll not hold on against him either. One of my closest friends is a capricious cat who builds faith in tiny batches. Thank you for letting me comb your glossy seal coat. You've sat on the laps of others, but not me. You who know what you like, keep your disciples on the paradise side of commonplace, like you let on to let go a mouse, as if you never let one go. You're like that axe who'd make me watch them smoke a camel, buy me 501s and make me dance to disco. Some people are animals, said Dr. Brown, when a patient shut up the surgery bog wall. Bouts of rock, paper, scissors ensued to see who'd win it, which says more about doctors than animals. I wish he'd been there to set Brown straight. The time I heard him advocate the fabulous Tiger Act at Aki Zavada's circus. In my email to the trust, I advised he be struck off now. I did it for you. I do all my complaining for you out of guilt. Sorry we had you gilded, but you did massacre a loft of praise racing pigeons. As I glide the comb concupiscibly towards your left hind knee, you turn on me, engraving more of that onto the soft of my wrist, you bastard, then stroll on, proud as an orangist, towards the gap and the gorse. So here I sit, alone, a cramp-ridden umpire, who's sure as the sky is grey, willing to bet their proverbial bollocks that love means nothing. Yeah, thanks very much. It's always a hard one. I've been to like poetry readings and like watched people getting like applauded, and then the next person doesn't get applauded after every poem, and you start getting paranoid for them. And you're like, was it shit? Because like I applaud all the time, even when it's shit. So it's nothing to do with it, you know. Some people ask me sometimes, well, all the time, because it's fairly obvious, if I feel compelled to write about the Troubles. And I always answer, well, I never really answer, I just go, yeah. But I suppose the answer is, it's such a part of my life, even though I grew up at the very end of it, because I lived in the midst of it, like right in the midst of it. It's almost under my fingernails, so it would be a lie not to, you know. So that's why, if the question is ever asked, not the thing doesn't mean anything, but it's only the language and what you do with it. But I mean, it's like asking, do you feel compelled to write about flowers? Of course, it's a fucking poem. Yeah, of course, you want to write about flowers. But for me, like, do you feel compelled to write about the conflict? Well, of course, because it's part of me. It's the thing that I grew up right in the centre of it, and know loads of terrorists. I suppose you can say terrorists if you're not on the news, and if you actually fucking know them. So this poem is after Frank O'Hara's Guest of a Nation, which is probably a really shit short story, but a much loved short story. Fiesta, after Frank O'Hara's Guest of a Nation, which was published in 1931. The earth spun on the universal fanfare, and the three of us were settled on the settee when the doorbell sung Big Ben sick, dong, dang, dang, dong. I elbowed the both of them. You go, or you go. I forget who did, it wasn't me. I mean hearing well chums were commandeering the car, get the keys, and seeing the fat ones, skinny lips move through a botched job of a stitched up hole in a roll-down neck cap come balaclava. I mean hearing CC shouting, Ernie, Get the friggin' keys. They have a gun as I bent down to pause, sea of love. And as quick as they came, they were gone. I mean hearing the next day on the news how they shot some man 20 times for something he'd done 20 years back, some bomb. The fat one stayed the main, the three of us. We sat in a huff till he, watching the TV, asked which film we'd been watching. The Sea of Love, I told him. He took a sip of tea and said, "Oh, put it back on. Is it a good one?" I mean, snapping, seemed dead on till you cunts came, and on the earth spun. So, unbelievably, the guy was shot 20 times and he actually lived. So there you are. But he did plant a bomb that was a really, really horrendous bomb. But there you go. That's the North. That's a sort of mad aunt in the, I think I described earlier, maybe say mad uncle. Mad sibling of a parent in the attic is, I think, how the South regards the North. And rightly so, because there's clearly something fucking wrong with us. You know? The South has its problems too. Probably actually worse. Maybe you should have, you should have just continued the Civil War for another 30 years. Would have been, swear to God. Get off your chest. This poem, I suppose, is about before being indoctrinated, as children are. I mean, sometimes it's a normal, good thing. You don't want children stabbing people in the neck, which they might do for stuff if they're not, taught how to live in society. And but there's an opportunity there because children see things as the Bible says, doesn't it? I mean, as Jesus says in the Bible, if we all thought like children, we wouldn't be so fucked up, But then it's a borderline there between children and animal. How do you even go there? But anyway, so Rudimental after Giovanna de Avila. We go out to play like all the other immoral monsters. Out comes the rain to dry up the dog's dirt. We'll mill to a powder with our bare hands and sprinkle onto radiators in the gospel hall and scatter over the van shop stock. This isn't funny. It's business. Balls to the van shop man and your God. They mentioned us on the radio. We played worldly against your gable, so we posted fireworks through your door. The bastards of daughters of men of renown, we say balls to the dog in your hall. Down comes the rain, it floods Denmark Street, so we ride a sloop with your bonfire horde. Look at us, plastered in muck, sailing to the Falklands. So I think this poem's quite challenging for me because and you'll know this, especially if any of you are from cities, and there's always an old accent and a new accent. So you find yourself code switching. If you're from the city and you're talking to your grandmother, you'll know exactly what I mean. Which has absolutely nothing to do with the content of the poem, but it is poetry, so it's not really anything to do with the content. Anyway, it's about the form and the stuff. So this poem is, I would say, an absolute rip-off because John Hewitt, Damien Smith and Gail McConnell have all written poems based around the Crumlin Road jail where this poem's set. And we lived just right beside the jail. We lived right beside the hospital. My granny lived like in 83, and the reason she lived in 83 was because they had free healthcare for the advent of the NHS, even though they were dirt poor. There was also a court and also a jail, and when I lived there was a jail, and there was, it was in 1984, July 1984, there was a big protest on the roof of the jail with a lot of characters who you would know from the news if you follow northern political politics. And I thought it would be a good test for me to keep my opinion to myself, which, as I was saying to Dean Brown earlier, actually, you know, either give me your fucking opinion and say, you know, shoot a Tory or something, or, you know, don't. But in between, in poetry, the equivocal doesn't really work because it's poetry, it's hard anyway. So this is me trying to be objective, and it's after Paul Cézanne's boy in a red jacket, or boy in a red coat, gilet. Prisoner in red vest and shorts, somehow after Paul Cézanne. I begged my ma for that pig's foot at the butcher's shop on the Crumlin Road, when the Crumlin Road was cadaver grey, like somebody'd shot Joy dead. As I took milk teeth to that hardy thing, all skin and gristle and bone, hardly any eaten in it, we watched the Crumbs inmates up on the roof fling slates over the wall, the funeral parlour, the BP garage, the Masonic Hall, down at the soldiers and peelers taking cover behind piglets and meat wagons. There was one fella flung a stick down too, a pretender to a concrete queendom. With his red vest and shorts, he stuck out like a robin's breast on Tarmac Adam, like the wee girl's coat in Schindler's List, like Geordie Best in the British Muck. There was little meat on that pig's foot, but them inmates to a man looked happy. Just getting a drink of water there. That's what happens when you're plied with drink. By Paul Casey and Dean Brown on different nights. That's really great. Really lovely to be here. Paul's really nice and an actual human being. Can you believe it? Like someone running a poetry series, an event and festival who's a human being. You couldn't make it up, would you? Like someone from film. You know? He's not a dickhead. I mean, where would you get that? But so I always get jealous about, this is me trying to sort of get off the troublesy shit, and I always get jealous about, the Crown has kind of made this sort of normalised, I suppose, but if you go on Wikipedia and you're a duke of any renown in Britain or Ireland or France or Germany or whatever, you can go right back to like the 11th century, and I'm very jealous about that, you know? You have to be at least a duke. A baron wouldn't really cut the mustard. If you're a royal, yes. But it's nice to be able to do that, you know? It would be great, wouldn't it? Not that you're guaranteed that like your great-great-grandfather is actually your father, you know, that's never guaranteed. Which is, I suppose, what this poem's about. Which is, the poem's about, I made there's a thing, it's a cousin chart, so you can like work out if it's your first cousin, once removed, second removed, third removed, second cousin, blah, blah, blah. For my friend who's a big Irish Republican, which usually has no bearing on your idea of hatred of Protestants, but in his case, maybe a little bit. And down in the right-hand corner, when you were far away, it was the Proddy danger zone. And he says, you know, no danger of that, mate. I'm from Tyrone, you know. And it's just this sort of bollocks that the nonsense that we live by, that we, like your second name, for instance, has any meaning whatsoever. You're related to so many people around the world. Male lane, a fallacy. My grandfather was a hippie man. He dropped LSD at Woodstock, and his father went to war at 17 after the Zimmerman telegram, and his daddy was an original Klansman from Pulaski, Tennessee, whose daddy-o, an orange man, marched from Bangor to Donaghadee. Funny that, because his father's father was a United Irishman, whose grandpa, a butcher's boy, held the gate at Derryman, and that man's dad walked a lot of miles from Dallamana to beg for that job, I don't mind telling you, from a Guildhall alderman. Then wandered back to the farm his father man for Abercorn. Then the same man, his dad, a stowaway son of a Scots clansman, went Ele man, then hopped off at Nendrum, where his great-grandfather, a Norseman, slew 50 monks. For the gold has funded his retirement in Vinland, where he shared a wigwam with an Algonquian man near Westnight Bangor, Maine. I don't think that's true, but it actually could be true. You know? I mean, there's all this stuff about DNA. It doesn't really mean anything. It's like, oh, it turns out we're Polish. What? What are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, how can you be Polish? But at one point, was there like a fucking like stable Polishness, you know? But so this, I don't know about that, Ben. One more? Okay. I must have been doing a lot of shtick. I'll read one more. I'll read two more. So, because I have to get away from the troublesy stuff. So, the naked ladies at the end of this poem are flowers, by the way. Just to let you know. You know, they're not naked humanoids. Hey, Cheese, this is a poem about going to France and Belgium or River and getting away from Belfast, but it's actually nice. It's nice to be here as well. As much as I have a love-hate relationship with my home. Hey, Cheese, I bring you home a bunch of poison flowers. You snap on your marigolds so you don't die, snipping the stems at a scandalously sharp angle before shoving them in the orange urn. You leave no note for the burglars before we miss our flight to the mainland. They're looking for people at the factory, you tell me. They put the crying in the crying dolls. As you dunk bread for French toast in a light eggy batter, like the milkmaid does in the Vermeer. I'm looking up the elector of Mance. I'm in Carta 98. When it dawns on me, it's the potpourri give me this here headache. This here headache takes nothing from my discovery that it was Churchill's mother invented the old-fashioned. Meet me at the church in Javrone. I'd love to sing, or don't, suit yourself. I want to go home and drink buttermilk, but the thought of Mary, Mother of God, sucking a cedar scalp from Joseph's index, and the big snowy owl stained with rat blood, make me wonder why I ever go home with the laggins lagging, with the stolen yellow pool ball in the scullery drawer rolling against the good knife, old Cormac's 50-year war with E. coli, my curly blonde head bashed against our front step, me getting roused to the meter for 5 butterfly stitches over my last eye. To discontented inmates up on the roof of the Crumb, letting toilet rolls dunked in moonshine to chuck at the shortening pillars below. At any rate, I'll have you stay here forever in Overpelt, away from redevelopment schemes, the West Links jazz, that terrible like midsummer sky, little boys flying drones towards gulls, bigger boys in sheds contriving viable devices, from our kind hills embracing ugly city, like a pair of jammy hands rigging in the pot. So I'll bring you home a second bunch of naked ladies. I have time, I'll read just one more. Ben's like, one more. Me and Dean were in, what he called, it's a very intimate sort of pub, Maureen's. And then when I got there, I realised why it was intimate. Maureen's, if you were in Maureen, lovely people, Maureen and Dennis. Very intimate, very, very intimate. So when we were there, your woman, Siobhan Sweeney, who plays the nun in Derry Girls, was there, and we were like getting these, I couldn't believe, like too cool for school, Dean Brown, wanted a picture with the nun from Derry Girls, but it just shows you how good she is in it. So I eventually got like a wee video message for my goddaughter. So this is a poem for my goddaughter. It's called Song for Go, but it looks like God because it's G-A-U-D, and that's one of her middle names. Song for Go, for my godchild, Chloe Lyra Rose Go Boo. I wish I'd been reared in this future too, kiddo, where although the ignoramus are feeling the cold, democracy could be born by caesarean section. By the time you're old, those bashful aliens might at last have said hello, or landed just to let us know they'll have the Earth for interstellar tiffin, after a sortie with a convocation of Martian griffin. If we end up in the star-spangled ballet of a galaxy-munching hippopotamus, at least that's us off the hook, re-CO2 emissions and having a nuke in every cranny. When you come of age, Chloe, don't go sniffing what the in-crowd offers for some cause of cool. Love's superior to the best cocaine, less expensive and chicer too. Stay pensive, but disregard cantankerous Schopenhauer. Life's not synonymous with pain. Feel the music and dance with the animals, especially the needy, smelly bastards. On the day I met you, game children ziplined between conifers in the Gael's wood. We picnicked below them, our lunch this world-class quiche Lorraine. Noon was warm, and my beer was cold, dead strong and bubbly. The quiche was lovely, strabili dropped, and those flying children wore capes of love.
Thank you very much, Scott. What a brilliant and playful reading. We're going to have now a quick Q&A session with each of our poets. The chair's arriving. But before we do the Q&A, just another big round of applause, please, for Fiona Kelleher, for Pippa Little, for Karla Brundage, and for Scott McKendry. And Pippa and Scott and Fiona, come on. Okay, quick. I'm just going to ask you a question. Yeah, and everyone's going to listen. Pippa and Scott, if you want to come and join, and Fiona, do you want to join the Q&A? Okay, I might just ask you, okay, do you feel that poetry has a role to play in reformulating like our conception of nature and our relationship with the natural world? This is my question, because that this seems to be an arc in the reading as it went along, this connection with nature, expressing. I don't know if you'd like to.
Okay, yeah, I think so. I think it's all part of what we are trying to do to raise, ask questions really, and make connections that perhaps weren't made before. And I mean, there's a lot of eco-poetry which is very powerful and strong at the moment, and that, I think, is shaping people's feelings that, the earth is alive, it's the animals and us we worth preserving, and how we can do that, I don't know, it's desperate at the moment, but I think if we don't say anything, then we're definitely lost. So poetry does have a role to play.
Thank you. So it's going to have to be a 1H. Getting this out.
Karla, I wonder what your thoughts on that are. I'd be interested to hear what role you feel poetry has to play in thinking about our relationship with the natural world.
Thank you. Yes, I do believe poetry plays a strong celebration of nature, as well as can be a critique. And in these desperate times, I also feel like talking about the disconnection of nature is equally important, because I think the disconnection and the global crises we're in are connected.
Thank you. And yeah, I suppose I'll just ask the same question to you.
Cheers, Ben. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have a really issue with the idea of the natural. You know, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, I suppose like on a fundamental level, it's actually probably quite like homophobic. The whole idea of what the natural is, I think, like, you know, plastic versus plant is, it's hard because most of us would be fucking dead if it wasn't for like modern medicine, you know? And this idea of making a distinction then, I think the distinction between the organic and the manufactured is just bullshit.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's just like what is good for people and what is bad for people, and that's a really hard judgment to make. But I don't know. I mean, it's a very it's a very political question. In some ways, sort of like wrapped up in something that shouldn't seem political, but it's actually very political. So I think the real question is like, you know, like should poetry be political? Which again is kind of, in my opinion, which is probably not like choreographed or like laid out in any kind of like schematic way, but I think poetry is always behind politics, and sometimes in front of politics, but it's not the same thing. So you can't say should poetry be political or whatever, because it is. You know, I mean, I always say to people I'm talking to, whether you like it or not, you know, one of the biggest, I mean, Yeats is a great example of how poetry can play into like nation and politics, but you know, Shakespeare was like one of the biggest contributors in a way, or inspirations behind like Karl Marx. So where does that sit? It's not like Karl Marx and then, you know, Stalin after them were running about like reading poems. You know, in fact, we're very conservative in their art, but poetry's job isn't to try and square up to politics, and that includes the environment. You know, it's not like a zero-sum game. It's not like there's these two things, politics and poetry. It doesn't really work like that. There's an element of the poetic in life.
Yeah, that's an interesting point actually. I wonder, do either of you want to come in on that, and maybe like what's the difference then between your work as a poet and work as an activist? And I wonder, do either of you want to come in on that question?
I could go.
Yeah, sure.
I think when I first started writing, I felt like the politics and poetry were so intricately connected, especially in nature. One of the first performance pieces I participated in was called Earth Peace, and it was about African American or Black people and their disconnection from the earth. And I feel like even talking about that disconnection at that time, which was in the 90s, was really important. And so I think it's always been there for me personally, like trying to link up, using voice, whether it's my voice or bringing voice of other people to the spotlight, to bring to light different ways of having a conversation, to heal or to have better, broader understanding of each other, which I do think is kind of a political act in terms of peacemaking. Not that I've done all that or that I'm that successful, but that's sort of like in my mind as I write or as I try and bring people together.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your input to that conversation there, all of you. And yeah, the conversation will continue. And thank you for your readings. So I guess we'll just another big round of applause for everyone.